Blackbeard. Blackbeard understood that fear could work like a weapon before any cannon fired. Before battle, he built himself into a nightmare with smoke, silence, and theater. He even accepted a royal pardon when it helped him look finished and harmless. Then he returned to piracy as soon as it suited him. By 1718, Virginia wanted him removed for good, not scared away again. Lieutenant Robert Maynard found him at Ocracoke Inlet, trapped among shallow channels. Maynard blocked the exits and moved in at dawn. But his smartest trick was making his deck look empty. Blackbeard boarded, thinking the fight was already won. Then the hidden sailors came up around him. The legend became a man in a brutal deck fight, close enough to breathe on. Accounts said he was shot 5 times and cut 20. Maynard cut off his head and displayed it as proof. The body was gone. The image survived, which was exactly how Blackbeard had always fought. Blackbeard died like a horror story hitting a wall, but the richest. Pirate died without a duel at all. Black Sam Bellamy. Samuel Bellamy was called Black Sam, and his legend moved fast. He became one of piracy's richest captains, shockingly fast, almost too fast to feel real. His great prize was the Whydah Galley, a captured ship heavy with wealth. It carried treasure, guns, and the weight of empire. For a moment, Bellamy looked unstoppable. Then he sailed north along the American coast, carrying treasure and momentum. The weather changed faster than any enemy could attack. A violent nor'easter caught the Whydah off Cape Cod, where wealth meant nothing. The treasure ship was driven onto the shoals. The mast snapped. The ship broke apart. Almost everyone aboard died in the surf, within sight of land but beyond rescue. Bellamy was not captured. He was swallowed by the sea. The pirate hunter never got to parade him. His treasure stayed hidden for centuries, turning the wreck into a buried pirate time capsule. Bellamy died rich, young, and completely powerless. The sea killed him better than the Navy ever could. The next pirate built a legend by surviving everything until one cannon blast. Bartholomew Roberts. Bartholomew Roberts was not the loudest pirate, but he understood command. But he may have been the most successful, measured by ships taken and fear created. In only a few years, he captured hundreds of vessels. His crew even lived under a written pirate code, because chaos still needed rules. Roberts dressed like a commander, not a runaway criminal, and that changed how enemies saw him. That image mattered. He sold confidence before violence. Then HMS Swallow found him off West Africa, far from the Caribbean myth people remember. At first, the pirates misread the danger. Swallow was not prey, it was the trap. Naval broadsides tore through Roberts' escape fantasy. Roberts was hit by grape shot in the neck. He died almost instantly on his own deck. His men followed one last order, protecting the captain's body from becoming propaganda. They threw his body into the sea before capture. No cage, no display, no trophy. Black Bart died like a captain protecting his legend, and his crew helped finish the story. Cptain Kidd's end was less elegant and much more humiliating. Cptain Kidd. Cptain Kidd did not begin as a cartoon villain with a buried treasure map. He was hired to hunt pirates and enemy ships. But privateering was a dangerous gray zone, especially when politics changed behind you. One captured prize changed everything, because legality at sea could collapse very quickly. Powerful men who once backed him stepped away, leaving Kidd alone with the blame. London decided he was useful as an example. In 1701, he was taken to Execution Dock, where pirate deaths became public lessons. He warned sailors to learn from his fate. Then the execution went wrong. The rope snapped, and Kidd was still alive, which turned punishment into spectacle. Some saw a miracle. The authorities saw a problem. They hanged him again. After death, they displayed him in chains so sailors would remember the price. It was a warning written with a corpse. Kidd died twice in front of everyone. His legend became treasure maps, trials, and bad luck. Henry Evry avoided that stage completely. Henry Evry. Henry Evry is the pirate who refused an ending, and that is why he still feels dangerous. He began with mutiny, not a royal commission. taking command before anyone could stop him. Then he renamed the ship Fancy. Evry sailed into the Indian Ocean hunting enormous prizes, where the stakes were imperial. His biggest target was the Mughal treasure ship Ganji Sawai, a prize too big to hide. The capture shocked empires, merchants, and governments because it threatened trade, diplomacy, and pride. Suddenly, Evry was not just a pirate. He became an international emergency. A massive manhunt followed him across the world, but the ocean gave him room. His crew scattered with treasure and false names. Some were caught, Evry was not. No reliable record tells us how he died, which is rare for someone hunted so intensely. Maybe he became poor, maybe he lived quietly. The truth is colder. He vanished. For a pirate, disappearance was almost victory, because no judge could own the ending. But not every pirate had the skill to disappear. Calico Jack became famous for the people beside him. Calico Jack, Anne Bonny, and Mary Red. Calico Jack Rackham was not the greatest pirate captain, but he had an unforgettable cast. But his flag and his crew made him unforgettable, especially long after his raids faded. Anne Bonny and Mary Red fought under his command, though history often makes them larger than him. Their presence turned a minor captain into a legend. In 1720, pirate hunter Jonathan Barnett caught them. Many of Rackham's men were too drunk to fight, which made the capture feel pathetic. Anne and Mary became the strongest image of resistance. The fight did not save them because courage does not always change the court record. Rackham was tried in Jamaica and sentenced to hang. He was executed at Port Royal. Anne reportedly mocked him for not fighting harder. Anne and Mary delayed execution by pleading pregnancy. Mary Red died of fever in prison, a smaller and sadder ending than the legend suggests. Anne Bonny's final fate remains uncertain, which makes her story harder to close. So Rackham died on a rope. But Anne and Mary escaped the clean ending history wanted. Charles Vane had no such mystery waiting for him. Charles Vane. Charles Vane built his name on refusing control, even when control might have saved him. When Nassau pirates were offered pardons, he resisted, choosing danger over submission. He preferred the black flag to obedience. His reputation was violent, stubborn, and unstable, which was useful until it was not. But pirate crews did not follow captains blindly. They voted when survival was at stake. When he refused to fight a stronger French warship, they turned. His own men voted him out. The feared captain was reduced to a smaller boat, a smaller crew, and a smaller future. Then bad luck finished what his crew began. A storm wrecked him on an island. He tried to hide who he was, but reputation is hard to bury. But someone recognized the name Charles Vane. That name had once created fear. Now it delivered him to the authorities. He was hanged at Port Royal in 1721. Vane died because even pirates got tired of him, and then the law finished the job. Stede Bonnet was the opposite, a gentleman pretending to be a pirate. Stede Bonnet. Stede Bonnet should not have become a pirate, which is exactly why his story works. He was wealthy, educated, and completely out of place among desperate sea criminals. Instead of stealing a ship, he bought one. Like piracy was a business idea, he named it revenge because subtlety was not the plan. But Bonnet lacked the instincts of a sea predator, and his crew could feel it. Blackbeard noticed that weakness immediately because predators recognize easy prey. For a time, Bonny lost control of his own adventure. He tried to return, rename, and rebuild himself. But colonial authorities were closing in. At Cape Fear, his pirate career collapsed in shallow water and bad decisions. He was captured after a fight he could not fix. Then he made one last ridiculous attempt to escape. It failed. He begged for mercy, but the court refused. He was hanged in Charleston in 1718. The gentleman pirate died as a warning and a joke, which may be the cruelest pirate ending. The next man was no joke at all. François L'Olonnais. François L'Olonnais was infamous even among pirates, which says almost everything. He built his reputation on terror against the Spanish, especially around Caribbean settlements. In stories about him, cruelty was the main character. That makes his final story difficult to trust completely because legends love punishment. But the famous account is unforgettable. After raids and shipwrecks, he moved toward Darien, away from the world he understood. The sea stopped being his battlefield. The jungle became the trap, and the pirate became the outsider. According to the legend, local warriors captured him. The man who had turned fear into a tool now faced it. The account says he was killed in the Darien region. Some versions make the death extremely savage, probably shaped by horror and revenge storytelling. For YouTube, the point is simpler. He spent his life terrifying others, then disappeared into a place his reputation could not control, which is the real punishment. The last pirate did the opposite of all of them. She did not die cornered, she negotiated. Ching Shih. Ching Shih may be piracy's greatest survivor because she understood power after piracy. She commanded a vast pirate confederation in China, far beyond the single ship stereotype. This was not one ship with a lucky captain. It was a system, fleets, rules, punishments, money, and negotiations. Her code made discipline part of survival. Chinese authorities tried to destroy her fleet. They could not simply crush her at sea, so they had to deal with her politically. So the ending became political instead of cinematic. In 1810, she negotiated surrender on her own terms, which changed the ending completely. Many of her pirates avoided execution. She kept wealth, status, and freedom. That is almost impossible in pirate history, where the rope usually gets the last word. Blackbeard lost his head. Kidd lost twice. Bellamy sank. Roberts vanished underwater by choice. Ching Shih retired and lived free. She died in 1844, not as a prisoner. She died as the rare pirate who beat the ending, not the sea, the court, or the rope. Olivier Levasseur. Olivier Levasseur was called La Bouse, the buzzard, because his attacks were fast and hard to predict. His greatest prize was the Portuguese ship Nossa Senhora do Cabo, loaded with wealth from the Indian Ocean. The loot was so enormous that the story immediately stopped feeling ordinary. Years later, pardons were offered, but forgiveness came with a price. Give back the treasure. Instead, La Bouse slipped into the islands and tried to let the ocean hide him. It did not hide him forever. He was captured near Madagascar and sent to Réunion. The court did not need a movie ending. It only needed a rope. Then the legend says he made one final move on the scaffold. He supposedly threw a cryptogram into the crowd, daring someone to find his treasure. Whether the riddle was real or not, the ending worked perfectly. La Bouse died on the gallows, but his legend escaped as a treasure map toward England. Edward England was dangerous, but he had one problem for a pirate captain. He could be merciful. In the Indian Ocean, he fought a brutal battle with the Cassandra. When the defeated captain survived, England chose not to slaughter him. That mercy made his own crew see weakness. Pirate democracy could be colder than any court. They voted him out. Then they marooned him on Mauritius, far from the command he had lost. He survived long enough to build a small boat from scraps. He reached Madagascar, but not as a captain anymore. The man who had commanded pirates was reduced to charity and sickness. Edward England died poor and forgotten, punished for being too soft for his own crew. 12 pirates, 12 endings. And none of them feel exactly the same. Battle, storm, cannon fire, broken rope, vanished records, and endings nobody could script cleanly, prison fever, crew betrayal, failed escape, jungle legend, negotiation. The movies make pirates look free. History usually shows something smaller and uglier. Most pirate legends ended when someone else controlled the story and turned the body into a message. The Navy, the court, the crew, the sea. And that is why their deaths are still remembered. Not because they were invincible, but because almost every ending proved they were not. And that makes the legends stranger.